Hi everybody and welcome to today's Wild Encounter. My name is Becca and today I'm going to have two guests with us, but we are actually going to start with Crookshanks here. And Crookshanks is a ball python. They are found over in West Central Africa, which is why she has that nice cool coloring. It helps her blend in because their favorite habitats is actually grasslands and open forests. Crookshanks here has been at the zoo for about 4 years now, and ball pythons in the wild live about 10 years. Whereas in captivity or in human care, they live 20 to 30 years. So she's going to live a nice long life here at the zoo. These guys can grow 3 to 5 feet and grow between 4 to 6 pounds. Crookshanks is definitely at that top weight class with her because she is nice and healthy here, which you can see. She's got that nice thickness to her. So ball pythons have a lot of cool traits about them, including their tongue. So snakes have forked tongues, which help them smell. So the reason that they're forked is because depending on which direction the smell is coming from, those scent particles will actually hit that side of the tongue. So because of that, she knows which direction to go. So they also have these really cool heat sensors on the front of their face, which if you can see, maybe not right now with what she's doing, but along her face she actually kind of has like holes almost, and that's our heat sensors, and those are another way that she can help find prey. So snakes don't actually have ears. They listen through vibrations. So if you do come across a snake, the best thing actually to do is to stomp your feet nice and loud, because you're going to sound really, really big and they're not going to want anything to do with you. Another reason ball pythons get their names is because when they feel threatened, they'll actually curl up into a nice tight ball. But they are also great climbers. As you can see, Crookshanks is doing a really fine job climbing on our pegboard here. Definitely enjoying her life.
I mean, I agree. She looks like she's just living the good life there. I mean, it kind of makes me want to climb on that pegboard and see what it's all about.
She is definitely.
Why is this so fun for snakes? We've seen this a couple of times on this show. What is it about this pegboard that is so fun for a snake?
So a lot of snakes just like climbing trees. It helps move all their muscles. It's just kind of a fun activity that they get to do because they don't necessarily get to do it every day. So these guys definitely love the opportunity to be able to come and climb on this, which is also an awesome form of enrichment, which we love to do with our animals. It definitely helps them live a very natural life here at the zoo. Mm-hmm. So we definitely do a lot of enrichment things with them. So I think it's okay to move on to our next guest, Dan.
Before we move on to Dan, you want to answer a couple questions?
Oh, sure, here? If there aren't.
We'll have a lot, of course, we're going to get some notable shout-outs here. We're going to Hey, Becca from Gus.
Hi, how are you doing?
He was a bunch of other fun names. Sarah and Jeannie all watching and saying hello. I don't know if you remember Hazel H2. She used to be quite the regular on the show, and I'm glad she's back with her commentary of Slippy Snake.
Oh, yes. Well, snakes aren't really slippery. Oh, here we go, bud. Just trying to hide. Just getting a little camera shy. So they aren't actually very slippery. They are very, very smooth, which is really fun to feel, but they aren't actually very slippery.
All right, well, Hazel, well, now you know. And Megan wants to know any tips to help them shed, because she must have a snake at home herself.
So they definitely, with shedding, it is very helpful if it's very humid. That humidity in the air definitely helps make that shed nice and easy for them. So the best thing you can do is definitely keep their little habitat very, very humid for them.
All right, Megan. And we've got here, Galamima is back on YouTube. I'm sure you recognize that name. He thinks that this form of enrichment is really unique. I've never seen anything like that. So hats off to you and your team.
It is definitely a very, very fun thing for them to do.
And Dog Days on YouTube. So how many animals do you think you have at the Memphis Zoo?
Whew. We have a lot if we're talking about the entire zoo. I'm pretty sure we're close to 4,000.
We're actually right over 4,000.
Oh, all right. There you go. Yeah, there is definitely a lot here at the zoo for sure.
Absolutely. But you can check that out at memphiszoo.org/animals and see all of our exhibits throughout the zoo. And soon will become an interpretation page with all of your animals.
Yeah.
All right. That's all of our questions for our snake at this time. If you want to.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up Dan because he is definitely hidden at the moment. Let's see.
little peek here what we're looking at. So
Yeah,
we've
he
seen this
is
box before
all
too.
buried up in here. He also loves this kind of enrichment too. He likes to be able to dig around in this new substrate. Oh, there you are, Dan. He had a head poked out and everything. Woo! There we go. So, some cool things about Dan. He is an undercover snake, if you want to call it that. So he is actually a legless lizard. He is called a Sheltopusix. That's the kind he is. It's also known as the European glass lizard. So, really easy ways to tell them apart. If you look here on Dan's head, you can actually see his ear holes. So he has ears like we do, except they're just kind of holes on his head, whereas we have our little cartilage ears. He also has a different kind of tongue, if you could see that flicking out for a little bit there. His is not forked. It's actually kind of round at the end. He also has this really cool groove all down his side, if you can see that. Ooh, he's getting a little excited here. I might put him back down. He's very excited at the moment. Okay. Yeah, but so he has that kind of circly tongue and that groove all the way down his body, which actually is how it helps him breathe, because that will expand and everything. He also has eyelids. Unlike our friend Crookshanks there, snakes don't actually have eyelids. They have a clear scale that goes over them. So I'm going to go ahead and put him back into his dig box so he can get all this extra energy out, because he definitely loves it. Yep, there he goes, right down in there.
We're just getting a great shot of him just finding his
definitely loves that. So these guys love to burrow. That is one of their favorite things to do. These guys also are carnivores like Crookshanks is, but these guys eat a lot more bugs. So these guys love snails, and they have a really cool jaw that is strong enough to break those snail shells. They also love slugs and worms and larger insects. They also do eat small mammals and reptiles and some small birds, depends. Birds are definitely a little bit big for these guys. They don't have that cool jaw that snakes do that can expand to get larger prey into them. So these guys don't have that cool trait that snakes do, but they do have really strong jaws, so they can break those snail shells, so they still get nice treats for them. But Dan here will get one small mouse once a week, so he definitely still gets his mammals, but he definitely loves his crickets that he gets here at the zoo also.
Great shot of him.
Yeah.
Looks like he's nuzzling his head into something. What
Yep.
is he doing?
So he's just kind of trying to find his favorite little spot to go in. He's probably just deciding which area he wants to go in the best. He might also just like to, I mean, he is a legless lizard. They tend to rub their face on everything.
Lizard thing? They rub faces on stuff?
I mean, it's definitely a Dan thing. He definitely likes to do it.
Yeah, and it's so funny because most people don't like to think that a lizard has a discernible personality from a separate lizard, but you're telling me that this particular legless lizard is going to be different than a separate legless lizard.
Oh, definitely. Honestly, almost all animals have very different personalities from one to the other. It's a really cool thing to be able to experience because I get to hang out with these guys every day, so like you definitely get to learn their personalities the more and more you hang out with them. Dan is definitely very, very active, and he loves to dig around.
Well, we're getting that beautiful shot of that sideline you're telling us about that makes him a lizard and not a snake.
Yeah.
You said it helps keep him cool?
So it actually is, that's kind of how he breathes. It'll expand and contract, and that's how he breathes. And snakes don't have that cool line because they breathe in a whole different way. They don't need that extra help.
Does that mean he's still cold-blooded, though, or warm-blooded?
Yep. They both are still cold-blooded, just like other lizards and snakes. He's definitely having a good time today.
They can't see here, but he is really making me work for it today.
Yeah, he is. He is super excited.
But if you recall from our last show with Liz and more enrichment, he made me work for it that day, too. And
Yes.
Liz, we were
He definitely, yes.
cameras and still trying to keep up.
He absolutely loves being in here. He's super active in here for sure.
Change that angle a little bit. All right, well, are you ready to see if we have some questions?
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to go back a little bit to the snake, of course. And David wants to comment, do ball pythons in the zoo go on hunger strikes like pet ball pythons often do? And what would be the reason they would do that?
So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a hunger strike, but during seasons like winter, they don't tend to eat as much just because they would be used to not necessarily being able to find food very easily, just because it is those winter months, so food is very scarce. So it's more like they're going into a seasonal hibernation almost, but it's definitely not a hibernation.
All right. And Amanda would just like to, I guess you tune in a little later, did want to know what kind of snake was that we were looking at.
So Crookshanks is a ball python. They are found over in West Central Africa.
And Zara would like to know, it seems like legless lizards move much faster than snakes. Is that due to a difference in skins? They move more easily, a muscular difference that affects how they move, or something else?
So they definitely move very differently, and their scales are also super different. So legless lizards aren't nearly as graceful looking, in my opinion, because they kind of more like wiggle around, whereas snakes kind of slither. So they definitely look more of like a one motion, whereas Dan here, like, he kind of moves his entire body all of the time. But it's just kind of the difference in their muscles. So Crookshanks has a lot more muscles on her stomach area that kind of move individually, whereas Dan has to kind of move everything at once.
Yeah, so if I was in the wild, I mean, clearly I don't want to get close enough to see if it has eyelids or not, but if I was in the wild and I was out looking at beautiful nature, how could I tell the difference between a legless lizard and a true snake?
So there's definitely a few. The ears are definitely the big thing. If they have holes on the side of their head, it's definitely a legless lizard. But their body shapes are also quite different, because if you look at Dan, he's kind of like one solid shape and thickness. He definitely thins out around his tail, but Crookshanks has kind of a rounded head and it goes in, so she kind of has more of a neck, and she gets super thick and then thin again. So it definitely helps to find those outside lookings, like the legless lizards will have that groove down their body, they'll have those ears, and they'll have those eyelids. And they also have more of a pointed nose. It's not super pointed, it's actually kind of like a blunt edge, but it's definitely, those simple things to look is definitely going to help.
Well, Dog Days on YouTube would like to know, how long is Dan?
So Dan is probably about 2.5 to 3 feet right now. We haven't measured him this week, so we're not 100% sure on that. But he is between 2.5 and 3 feet long right now. So his species will actually get between 4.5 and 5 feet long. They are the largest legless lizards, so they are very big. So that is, yeah.
I thought he was fine finding that sweet spot, getting in there, and he's crawled back out. All right, well, we'll get some other fun questions here about maybe social life. Will you find Dan socializing with the other snakes or lizards, kind of hanging out, grabbing some tea?
Dan definitely, I mean, they're kind of socializing right now because they're in the same areas, but you can tell they're not really paying attention to one another. These guys are kind of solitary animals. They don't really need to have others around. They just kind of like to do their own thing and be super slithery and just kind of love life.
Social distancing easy for you guys.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They are very good at social distancing.
Well, good for you guys. This extroverted monitor is very ready to get out with all her friends. What about Dan in the wild? Would legless lizards hang out together? They're always pretty solitary guys.
No, they're pretty solitary. I mean, they'll come together for mating season just like any animal for sure. But they don't really depend on anybody else. They're very independent. Even hatchlings are pretty independent. So they don't really need to count on others. They're very good at being themselves.
So diets were kind of similar between the two, but that seems pretty common also for, lizards and reptiles just in general eat a lot of bugs and small rodents. What about defending themselves? What's the difference between what would Crookshanks do and Dan do?
So that's a super good question. And actually, going back to their diet, a cool difference between them is actually their teeth. So Crookshanks has over 100 curved teeth in her mouth, and Dan has cone-shaped teeth. So their diets are similar, but Dan here loves to eat bugs, and Crookshanks isn't really going to go after a bug. But I'm sorry, I forgot your actual question.
How do they defend themselves?
Oh, okay.
How would she defend herself compared to how he would defend himself?
They definitely both would run away, for sure. But the reason ball pythons actually have their name is because if they feel threatened, they'll curl up into that really tight ball. Mm-hmm. Dan is actually not able to curl up like that. His body just won't allow it. I was like, he's probably as curled as he can get at the moment. Yeah, that's probably as curled as he can get, whereas Crookshanks can get super, super tight. So nice. They both aren't really gonna fight. They're more gonna run out and hide. So he'll definitely dig himself into the ground, and she'll curl up in a ball, maybe just slither away.
Well, while he looks kind of worn out a little bit, you want to try to pick him up again. So we've got a question about some coloration here.
Oh yeah. Oh, so excited, Dan! I know.
Maggie would like to know, does Dan have some red spots, or is that the lighting?
So he does actually have red and orangish burnt-looking spots all on him. These guys actually come in a variety of colors for sure. And you can definitely see that his stomach is different than the top of him. And that's definitely a thing with all... Oh, he's trying to go on the table. He definitely wants to get up close and personal with you guys. He is excited.
Well, hey, Dan, we're excited to see you, buddy.
Yeah. Ooh, sorry, bud. There we go.
He was so calm with that. Maybe he finally checked himself out.
Yeah, nope. He is. Yeah, he's super excited.
So you were saying they come in a variety of colors. What other colors will we might see Dan? Or what about this? What color will we see here in the United States?
So, I'm gonna put him back down again. He's very excited. They definitely come. They come in like this tannish colored, like darkish brown. Mm-hmm. They definitely sometimes have these cool colored spots like he does. It really just kind of depends on the lizard, it's just genetics, I guess. Just depends on how, yeah.
We got a little jokester here, Loretta. Legless lizards, snakes, I don't need to know the difference, I'm running.
They're not something that I necessarily would get all super up close with in the wild, but here at the zoo, these guys are nice and trained and definitely able to be more comfortable around people, which is an awesome way to get people more comfortable around them. Mm-hmm. So these guys are ambassador animals, so we do a lot of hands-on with them, which helps them get closer to you guys.
Well, I wouldn't say run away from a snake in the wild, but it's definitely good to maybe take 2 steps back.
Yeah, I would definitely take some steps back. You don't necessarily have to run, but I wouldn't necessarily get all up in their business because they're definitely more scared of you. Hi, Crookshanks. Yes, they're definitely more scared of you than you are of them. But you also don't really want to scare them off because they definitely help with rodent populations. So they are very important to have around.
Well, Gallimaris on YouTube, I've noticed red markings on Dan spaced apart. Would those markings be to determine who he is as an individual, similar to what zoos do with amphibians and turtles?
So Dan's color...
Oh, I think I know what he's asking. I think he's asking like how you put spots on
the turtles.
Right,
yeah.
Turtlets.
So yeah. What's happening here. But no, so Dan actually is just naturally that. Crookshanks, where you're going, bud? She's just cracking me up. I'm actually gonna take her off of this real quick. Let's get her. There we go, buddy. Yeah.
Right over here.
There we go. Curl up a little bit. So Dan is actually naturally colored like that. We don't need to change their colorations because their colorations are so different from one another. Even snakes have different colorations. We don't necessarily keep them in the same area or tanks or enclosures or anything like that. So it's not that hard to tell them apart because they're never in the same area. This is as close as they get.
Together.
Right. So the turtles are always all together, so we have to keep them. We have to mark them because they definitely look super, super similar to one another.
Well, Dog Days would like to know, do you know either of their birthdays?
So Crookshanks here was born in July. I'm not sure on the actual date. And then Dan was born in June. So both of them actually have birthdays pretty soon.
Oh, no. Happy early birthdays, guys. Mm-hmm. Maggie would like to know, would the snake curl around your arm if you poked him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's curling. If you can see, she's actually curling right now. It's just kind of to help her hold on. That's something that snakes, that's how they kind of hold on to everything, because they don't have those nice hands like we do. So they use their muscles to kind of curl around, which she's doing on the pegboard here. It's just kind of how they hold on to things. But yeah.
Well, we've got Chris here with a couple questions. He wants to say, hi, Becca.
Hello.
Is that snake as slimy as he looks, and aren't you scared he's going to bite you?
So snakes actually are not very slimy at all. They're not slimy, they're shiny. So they definitely look like they're shiny or slimy, but because they're so smooth and they have these really nice little scales that kind of overlap, they look super, super shiny, which a lot of people think that means they're slimy, but they actually don't have much slime on them at all. The only time I would say they're a little slimy is when they're shedding, but we don't really touch them anyway because they have to concentrate on that.
I completely understand. When I'm brushing my hair, I'm in my zone.
Yeah. I'm not a, snakes, their last resort is to bite. And because Crookshanks is so used to us and I'm used to handling her, I'm not nervous about being around her and her potentially biting. Anything with a mouth definitely can bite, but it's not something that she's going to choose to do at this moment because she's just kind of living her life, enjoying the pegboard.
But don't a lot of animals, including things, give you some pretty big indicators of hey, you know what?
I'm
not
definitely.
Digging this interaction with you before they strike or bite in any way?
Yeah, definitely. Lots of snakes have a lot of different signs. Mm-hmm. Ball pythons will curl up into that cool ball that they can get really tight into. Mm-hmm. Other snakes might beat their tail on the ground. Rattlesnakes will rattle it. There's definitely a lot of different things they'll show. Some of them will even make noises. It really just depends.
To take that step back and
for sure.
To make sure I stay safe and not be bitten. And it's just that very lovely day.
I mean, it's better, even if they're not necessarily making noise, just to take a couple steps back anyway. If they're out and about, it's just safer for them, safer for you. You're not going to make them nervous. They're not going to make you nervous. It's just kind of a mutual thing.
Well, Amanda's chiming in, just wants everyone to know that she happens to love snakes.
I also like snakes. I like snakes a lot. I think they're super cool creatures, especially because they don't have legs. How cool is that? These guys move around with no legs. I couldn't do that.
So here's something fun I always like to talk about. No one ever thinks we can, as bendy as this guy is does Crookshanks have bones, or is it all cartilage, like a shark?
Yeah, so she definitely has bones. She is a vertebrate. She has a very long backbone and a lot of ribs. And a lot of muscle. And that's how she can move around like she is right now. Although she seriously wants to go on the floor. What are you doing, silly girl? But yes, so these guys definitely have a very weird bone structure compared to ours because we have all those extra bones for our ligaments. Whereas these guys don't really need any of that. Where are you going, bud? Let's see if she'll climb back on here. There we go.
Time of her life over there.
Yep. There we go.
Lauren is loving it.
So they definitely have different skeleton. Skeleton.
Mm-hmm. And I see her she's flicking that tongue, so she's really just exploring, seeing what it is that she's on, and just making sure it's safe to keep moving forward, and maybe possibly looking for food.
I mean, I guess you could consider that. She definitely is trying to check out her surroundings, seeing what's up. Definitely potential of sniffing out food where we definitely don't have anything for her right now. She actually only gets fed every 2 weeks because snakes don't really need to eat that much because they don't necessarily move around that much. They really only move to hunt. Well, that's not necessarily true, but that's when they do most of their movement is when they're hunting. So it's not...
Or playing on a pegboard.
Yeah, or playing on a pegboard. They definitely love to play on here.
Solomon wants to know, do snakes make noises, particularly Crookshanks here?
So, she definitely can. It's more like an exhale. That is what the noises that I've heard her make. But they definitely, some snakes can make more noisier noise like rattlesnakes with their rattles, whereas Crookshanks really just kind of exhales. But yeah.
I have personally seen here the Louisiana pine snakes that we breed and put back in the wild, can absolutely vocalize.
Oh yeah.
And that is very fun. It was a very fun surprise for my coworker at the time, who was not a fan of that sound and did not realize that they could make that sound.
Yeah.
I had a little chuckle over that. Bentley wants to know, how do you tell if Cruikshanks is a boy or a girl?
So that is actually not the easiest thing to do. It's actually something that that the vet does. We can't do that because it's they actually kind of have to go almost inside the snake. So it's kind of a tricky thing to do. But we do know Cruikshanks is a girl. There you go, bud. But it's something that like I could not do right now, like just from looking at her. I will say the females are usually larger than males for ball pythons, so that is definitely an indicator, but that's not always the easiest thing to do because you don't necessarily have a male and a female sitting right next to each other. And they could be different ages and all of that.
And Maggie's is baffled by what we were just talking about. She wants, wait, not all snakes hiss?
There's definitely, I mean, yeah. I just haven't heard Cruikshanks hiss is more what I was getting at, because she just is comfortable with us. So definitely a lot of snakes do hiss. It's just, I mean, they don't always because they don't have the need to.
Well, guys, we're getting through, I think, all these questions here. Becca, is that warm? We've got that warm weather. We know the snakes are coming out. What can our audience do at home across the nation? And I know we have some watching from Scotland and elsewhere.
Oh, nice.
Just what can we do at home to help save our local snake species?
I mean, definitely, best thing to do if you do see one is just to leave it alone. Let it hang out where it wants to. If it is getting in your house and uncomfortable, go ahead and call somebody that can take care of that without actually hurting it. But an awesome way to help out is actually to just kind of reduce your waste or reuse it. So there's lots of different things that you can do. Definitely try not to litter. That's not very helpful for these guys in the wild. But anything that's really going to help reduce or reuse, so even using reusable grocery bags at the grocery store or reusable water bottles, like anything like that is going to help get your specific number down for using single-use things. So anything like that can really, really help these guys out.
All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question today. Please feel free to message us, and I'll make sure Becca gets that answer back to you. And Becca, any last minute something you want to tell us?
I mean, yeah, the best thing to do, easy ways to tell the two of them apart are their tongues, the eyelids, that cool line that Dan has between snakes and legless lizards. Again, a really good thing that you guys can do to help out all kinds of animals. There's reduce, reuse, and recycle anything and everything that you use. And thank you guys for tuning in. Bye. Say bye, Cruikshanks.